Hi guys, it's Catherine, and I'm here with my friends from my class.
Hi, I'm Sophia.
Hey, I'm Brad.
I'm Alexia.
And I'm Maddie.
And is everyone okay if I record them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So today I'm talking to you guys about a law, and it's technically called or referred to as distracted driving, but it basically refers to the terms of state-by-state cell phone use. So when I was first doing this, I just wanted to look up like the restrictions for novice drivers because I'm from New Jersey, and you can't have your license until you're 17, but before that you have to have your permit, and then from 17 to 18, you can't have more than one person in the car, and you can't use a cell phone at all, or have a radio on, or use any Bluetooth devices or anything like that. And even the passenger can't be using their cell phone, which I always thought was ridiculous, but I just lived with it. And then when I came to South Carolina, I found out that they don't do that at all. And I was like, what the heck? That's so not fair. But then when I looked into it, I just realized that like all of the states' laws for cell phone use were different. So I wanted to enact like a policy change to be submitted to like the United States Congress to be changed for a uniform law on distracted driving rather than just state by state. And the reason why I wanted to do this was just because like coming from a different state like New Jersey and then coming down here, I so many oftentimes like run into like almost getting into accidents with people because they're texting, and someone like me, like I'm never on my phone when I'm driving, but that's because of the state that I grew up in rather than just like being from North Carolina or South Carolina that my friends are and they're constantly on their phones. So that's why I think it should be a united law rather than state by state. So then when you are traveling or being anywhere in the country, you can know that you're going to be safe and that people's laws aren't different. And then another reason why I also wanted to do this was because my neighbor was actually in a texting and driving accident. She wasn't texting, but the guy was, and she actually ended up getting paralyzed, which was a really big deal for me just because like she was my neighbor and we used to hang outside and like play when we were little. And then she actually was 17 years old, like just getting her license, and then she became paralyzed. So like she like can drive, but not really. Like you have to get those special cars. But that's why I want to do my policy change on. So my first source is a question and answer from the government's website of Utah. So true or false, drivers on the phone have a worse reaction time than many drunk drivers. So what do you guys think?
True.
I would say it's true.
Yeah, true.
Okay,
That's actually true.
So that actually is true, which I thought was really surprising just because I would think that drunk driving is worse than texting with your cell phone, but apparently not. And then it says, how many times more likely are you to get into an accident while talking on a cell phone while driving? The answers are 2, 4, or 6.
Go with 2.
I'd say 4.
I would say, yeah, 4.
Probably 4.
So the answer is actually 6. You're 6 times more likely to get in an accident when you're on your cell phone. And then using a hands-free speakerphone or headset makes you a safer driver, true or false?
I think no, it still makes distractions.
Yeah, I'd go with false.
Yeah, I think false.
So it actually is false, which I thought was surprising, but I was also happy because I was like, oh, now I understand why all of our laws are the way that they are. So, and then something else that I wanted to go over with you guys is just all the forms and like bans from state to state. So, for example, 15 states in the United States alone banned all handheld use of cell phones, including like DC, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. And then no state can technically ban all cell phone use, but 38 states, including DC, like I said, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, do ban the cell phone use of novice drivers, as well as 48 states ban the use of texting completely while driving. And then 20 states actually prohibit bus drivers from using their cell phone, which I think is really smart because if I'm a parent, I wouldn't want a bus driver to be driving my kid and then also be distracted on his phone at the same time. And then my next source is just You Pay, You Text, You Drive, which is the initiative that was enacted in 2014. It was supposed to be a nationwide initiative for texting and driving. But for 2015 alone, there were 3,477 deaths caused by distracted driving, which was really sad to me just because, like, in a state like New Jersey where texting and driving, and especially like any cell phone use, is completely prohibited, other than like headphones and stuff like that. And then 391,000 people were injured. And then there are 660 distracted drivers that use their phone daily. And this is just during the day, which also stuck out to me just because that's only when there's like light out, like not when it's dark. Which, like, if you think about it, like, isn't that big of a deal. But when I thought about it more, it was like, okay, like when it's dark outside, it's even harder to drive. So imagine like just texting and driving in the daytime versus texting and driving in the night. And then, so I tried to compare 2 different states, and one was New Jersey, obviously, and one was South Carolina, and over 87,000 summons were given out for texting and driving and use of cell phones when prohibited in 2014 in New Jersey. And then I looked at an article for South Carolina, and there wasn't even a report on how many summonses there were. It was just that there was a low amount of people receiving tickets, and they don't have an exact number because most of the tickets are either dropped, let go, or people just don't get pulled over in general, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous because it was in a police report, and it was just that the police aren't enforcing this. And that's also why I wanted to do a nationwide ban, is because then it can be a uniform decision, and then it can be held up by every single state, and then it'll, like, you can know that when you do go there that every state and police will make this into a uniform decision, and you can feel safe rather than having one state be held to a higher standard. And then that will be easier to enforce it overall. And then also, so basically, like, in conclusion, all this is extremely dangerous, and like I hope, even just from talking to you guys, that you guys would refrain your use of cell phones when you are driving. This was just, like I said, a really big deal to me, and also, like, I was so surprised because when I do drive with my friends, they use their cell phones all of the time, and it annoys me just because we've almost gotten in so many accidents. And just even comparing from like state to state, like what the how many people like are dying, and compared like the death rate for cell phone related incidents is much lower in regions like the north, where they have stricter laws rather than people down here, and there's much more accidents and deaths. Does anyone have any questions?
How do you
I don't really. Oh, go ahead.
go?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really have like questions, but I definitely like agree with your proposal. I think it is really important. I'm from Maryland, and we have like pretty strict laws about like speeding and stuff, or not just speeding, but like, you know, using like handheld devices and things. And we're like allowed to use like Bluetooth devices, but just like nothing handheld. But I know my grandfather has like Bluetooth in his car, and like grandparents and technology just like don't mesh well together. So like he's still like in the car, like, you know, trying to like figure out how it works. And like, I think that's still like, you know, creates a distraction.
Yeah, I meant to ask, where are you guys from? And like, do you know of your state's like laws about handheld use of phones? Other than Maryland.
I'm from South Carolina. I have no idea what our laws are.
Yes, and not to be like a rude way, but like that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like those were drilled into my head since I was like 14.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad about using my phone too.
What's anyone else from?
I'm from Pennsylvania, but I also spend a lot of time driving in New Jersey, and so I'm used to not being on my phone. Like, growing up, my parents were always like, stay off your phone, and then like it was a law in New Jersey. I'm not really sure what it is in Pennsylvania, but I just try to stay off my phone.
Yeah, like I'm from New York, but I grew up in North Carolina, so I'm like basically from there. And even though I was raised like don't use your phone, and that's how it is up there, a lot of my friends would use their phones, and it annoys me so much because like a lot of them have gotten into accidents, and it's almost like there's just like less of a care just like in themselves. I don't know why. I think it has to do with the laws, but like a lot of people just don't seem to even realize like how bad it really is.
Yeah, and not even to like harp on like Virginia, but like my one friend is like a extremely not only like aggressive driver. So like imagine like mixing like I'm from the north, so like people consider the northern drivers to be much more aggressive from like Virginia up. So imagine like incorporating like an extremely aggressive driver and then like someone who also uses their cell phone and then someone that's just like not paying attention, especially being in a college town like the University of South Carolina where we have drivers from everywhere. Does everyone else just think like driving in Columbia is really hard?
It's ridiculous.
It's so impossible, and I'm just like, I don't understand this. Like, these are just regular city streets. Like, I've driven in New York City, and this is almost harder than driving in New York City.
Oh, no, I agree.
But I was just like, I wonder why. And then I realized because every single state has different laws on cell phone use. And I was like, if they were uniform, then people would at least, I think, get into less accidents and drive more defensively rather than offensively, because then they would know like, oh, like they're probably not on their phone because you're not supposed to be at all, rather than other states that are more lenient. Does anyone else have any more questions?
I have one thing to add. I feel like there's no argument like for the other side of this. Like there's no arguments that say like why we should be on our phones. So like I don't understand why this already isn't enacted.
Me too. That's why I'm so surprised, and that's why I switched my argument from just novice drivers to drivers in general. I mean, yeah, people that use their phones are probably going to be more mad about this, but in hindsight, it'll save way more lives and just also makes people feel safer when being good.
Right.
Does anyone else have any more questions?
I'll ask one. How do you think like places like South Carolina where there aren't really many laws, or I guess there aren't any, and people are kind of used to being on their phones while they're driving, like how do you think they'll be able to enforce the law and actually people actually accept it and be able to do it since they're so used to doing that?
Yeah. So if we were to do like it as a uniform thing throughout the whole entire country, I feel like then law officers would uphold to the law more because it is a law required by the whole United States government. And then also most of the time with like federal laws and all of that stuff, they bring in people from other states that have like a specialization in, so they would probably bring in someone that was successful in enforcing the laws in New Jersey and then brought them down here to a place like South Carolina to then enforce it and then like create the trend throughout all of the other police departments. Is something that I would probably do if I was in the like the police department or like anything within the United States. That's just my opinion. Yeah. Anyone else?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys, for listening, and I appreciate it a lot. And you pay, you text, you drive. Bye.